So welcome Andrew Woods. He has an experience of 25 years in consulting and has authored soft skills around the globe for entrepreneurs, for students, and he's an awesome person to let us know about soft skills in AI. And he has also authored this book, Soft Skills in the Age of AI, where he's going to talk about the 6 soft skills required to excel as a student and as anyone in this age of AI.
I mean, I think students need to realize that AI is going to beat you at almost anything. Certainly left brain activities, things that are logical, sequential, analytical, the 6 soft skills that you need to dominate in the age of AI. If you have those, there's no AI that's going to be able to beat you in that area.
If I'm applying for your company as an MBA grad from Tech, what the skill sets you're looking to? So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for coming for the podcast.
Thank you.
Really excited.
Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to be here. Tell me about your company. You've been in consulting for 20 years and you own your own consulting firm. Can you just tell me about that?
Well, it's funny. This is the 3rd version of that particular training company. So I had a company in the UK for a number of years. I sold that to a Middle Eastern firm. I wound up doing an MBA, and all my classmates were from China. So this is at a time when China was growing at a massive GDP growth, and I really wanted a piece of that action. So I went over and spent close to 10 years living in Shanghai and
So you speak good Mandarin?
And not really. I would say I can get by. I can get by reasonably well. I probably speak better than your level of Mandarin, but then I don't know what your level of Mandarin is. I can get by. I sold that. I started the business again in China. And then in 2019, I had a lot of customers lined up for 2020. And of course, COVID came. So I decided that I would return back to Canada, where I'm originally from. And that's sort of where we are now.
Fantastic. So if I'm applying for your company as an MBA grad from New York Tech, what are the skill sets you're looking to me?
I mean, it would really depend on what the job was. If you were applying for, there are certain jobs that I believe that you need training for, and there are certain jobs that your personality, I'm happy with who you are, and we can build those skills as we progress. So for instance, if you approach me and you say, I want to do a business development job in your company, well, I care about, do you listen? Are you able to build relationships quickly? How do you interview? How do you come across? How do you appear even? And I mean that in a way as, did you dress for the interview? Or these are little things, but I think they're really important things. Is how are you going to represent my company is what I'm concerned about. I'm not that concerned about what your qualifications are. Now, if you're applying for a very specific position, like you're a data scientist and you're applying for that type of situation, or you're going to analyze my data, well, then I do care about what your credentials are and what you've studied and so it just depends on the situation. But what I'm looking for people are people that are a little bit different, that stand out, that aren't shy about, talking about their achievements, are confident. Really, it's on a case-by-case basis, but I'm really looking for those people skills. Are you able to engage in conversation? You might turn around and say, well, you have a 98% average in all your classes, but then you can't have a conversation with someone. Well, how are you going to fit into the organization? So I care about your grades and I care about what you've learned, but I'm also very interested in who you are,
Absolutely.
who you are as an individual.
Fantastic. Actually, I hope that a lot of employees here in Vancouver has those skill sets, which Andrew's looking for. I'm a student who's coming to your company looking for a job.
Yep.
Do you expect me to speak multiple languages?
No, I don't expect
just be good with English.
I don't expect you to speak multiple languages. It's a bonus. And international students tend to speak multiple languages, so it's a bonus. I'm looking for experience, but I'm looking for a different kind of experience. I'm looking for, talk to me about your experiences in your home country. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to say to me, well, wow, have you ever thought about this market? I'm from Sri Lanka. Have you ever thought about this market? And then I'm interested. I'm interested in something that's a little bit unique. I get text messages from my students that sometimes say, hey, I need a job. Can you help me? And I'm like, well, what are your skills? Who are you? It's a lot of it is common sense. A lot of it is like, how do you present yourself? How do you write an email? How do you present yourself at the interview? I'm willing to give anyone a chance because I believe that we all need a chance, but you got to make your own luck. You got to prepare. When I ask you, what do you know about my business at an interview, and you say, I know nothing, well, the interview's over. the interview's over. I might, out of courtesy, talk to you for a little bit longer, but the interview's over. I mean, you haven't done your homework.
And Andrew, about your book, which you authored, Soft Skills in the Age of AI, what made you author this book, and what was the idea behind this book?
That particular book was written purely for students and early career professionals, and it looks at the 6 soft skills that, in my experience, of not only training around the world, but also teaching at quite a few different universities on MBA programs, on undergraduate programs, mostly business related, almost all business related programs, is there's a lack of soft skills in the graduates. They are lacking certain skills. Among those skills, I talk about the 6 skills in the age of AI that you need. Let's make sure I get this right. The 6 skills are creating legendary customer service. So you got to look at everyone in your life as a customer, your family, your friends, the people you do business with, the people that you're going out with on an event in the evening or going out to dinner with. They're all your customers, because you've got to keep them happy. You got to keep them engaged. I always make the joke that I want to keep my wife happy because I don't want her going to the competition. She can go to the competition if the competition is better. So I've got to be on my game all the time. So that's the first thing. How do you treat all the relationships in your life? And I like to treat everybody. So, I have classes that have 45, 50 people in them. I memorize everybody's name. I go through the attendance over and over again, and I have little games where I play, where I say, okay, that person wears those shoes, that person, to try and remember everybody's names. That's the difference between valuing them and treating people as individuals and unique individuals who are paying for a product. They've got to have exceptional service. Number 2, how do you win at sales and negotiation? So everything is a negotiation. We're all involved in sales. We're all involved in negotiations. So how do I win at that? How do I be incredible at that? That's a skill as well, because people buy from people. Eye to eye sales, individual to individual, not business to business. It's eye to eye, individual to individual. Number 3, how do I make a powerful presentation and articulate my ideas to people? You're always being asked to make short presentations in business. You're always in school and MBAs. You're always asked to make presentations. Your whole business career, you will be making presentations. How do you articulate your ideas, get them across, and convince people to buy into those ideas? The next one, cross-cultural communication. Well, where we are based here in Vancouver, it is a completely multicultural city. So you're dealing with people from all over the world, and there's different norms and different ways of dealing with people. And when you understand this, it avoids a lot of confusion, a lot of miscommunication. So when you understand the differences between maybe selling to someone who's from a certain part of the world to selling from maybe someone in the local market, you have a lot more power when you understand these things. Yeah. So that's 3 we've covered. The next one would be innovation and creativity. The left brain, the AI will always be able to do those things, but can AI create things? Companies are looking and they're hungry for creativity and innovation. They're not interested in people that come in. I always say this to my students, is management in Canada, they want you to alleviate their problems, not create more problems. So stop asking me questions that you can answer yourself and start bringing me new ideas and new ways of doing things. And I think certainly international students have that advantage, that they can see things through a different lens because they've lived in different areas of the world. So I love hiring international people because I believe they have a different perspective. Yeah. And the last point would be emotional intelligence, like EQ, empathy. So how can you, step into someone's shoes and understand what they're feeling? Those are the sort of the soft skills that if you have those skills, you're going to fly. You're going to be employable everywhere. And AI is not going to be able to beat you in any way, shape, or form, at least in the time being. We don't know what AI holds 10 years from now, but right now AI cannot. It is completely useless when it comes to these human and these creative skills. It can write songs. The songs are mediocre. It can do art. The art is mediocre. It will get better, but it won't be able to have that human touch. I just gave a guest lecture here at New York Institute of Technology, and I said that to the class. I said that, AI is not, we could wheel out a robot and we could put it in front of the class, and it's going to be able to know a lot more than I, a lot more facts, a lot more, but it's not going to have those individual stories. It's not going to be able to talk about working in Ireland and a unique thing that might have happened there, or working in China, or working in Vietnam. It's not going to be able to have those stories and tie those stories into the actual topic of whatever the class might be. So if we're talking about sales and negotiations, it's not going to have those stories. It's not going to be able to do that. So as long as you keep ahead of the curve in the human skills, you're always going to beat AI.
Students, look for this book, 6 important soft skills required for you to be the best, and especially for people who are just getting started with AI. You started your consulting company and you've been consulting for 25 years. So what made you start? What made you think about, hey, consulting is my game, it's my cup of tea? Because you spoke about soft skills and your whole story. What pushed you to get into consulting? And can you give us a background about your story?
So as we're pitching and we're talking to potential MBA students and soon-to-be graduates, I want to give a story because it's a story of entrepreneurship. And I think entrepreneurship is really important because it's another option that a lot of schools talk about, maybe they don't talk enough about. And my business started, I was living in Vancouver in the 1990s. It was a long time ago. I was living in Vancouver in the 1990s. And my mother, who was from Ireland, had recently died, and I was very much kind of alone, and I wanted to maybe go and just have a look at her country. So I was sitting in a pub in Kitsilano here in Vancouver. Those people that are watching this that are local will know that area. I was sitting in the pub, and I heard a guy's accent, and he sounded Irish. So I was just sitting there, and I said, how are you? I'm Andrew. Started talking to him. And that's really an important skill, which we can talk about later, is the importance of networking, talking to people, every opportunity, because every opportunity opens doors. And I spoke to this guy and he said, well, you know what? He said, if your mother was from Ireland, you're automatically an Irish citizen. I said, well, how does that work? I've never been there. How can I be an Irish citizen if I've never been to the country, and I was never born there? How can I be a citizen? And he said, no. Irish law is that if your mother or father is Irish, you're automatically Irish. So I thought about that for a little bit. And this story is interesting because it shows you how the times have changed. I went to a phone box. You've probably never seen one of those before, where I put coins into the phone to phone Ireland. It disappeared a long time ago. And I made this phone call. And I spoke to the lady on the end of the phone. And think about it now, 2025, all the security and all the passwords and everything else. I said to her, Mom was from Ireland. I need her birth certificate to get a passport. The lady said, where do you live? Give me your address, and sent it to me. There was no, what's the maiden name? What's the password? You prove to me that you are who you are. Just total trust. So I got the passport and I booked a ticket. I booked a plane. I flew over to Ireland, and I'm walking, and I wound up in one of the most dangerous areas of town, walking with a book. I'm walking with what was a Lonely Planet guide, which now are all online, but I had a physical book walking around Dublin. And I walked into the worst part of town, and I thought, this doesn't look right. I felt nervous. And I walked in. Guy says, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a cook. He pours me a beer, and he puts it in front of me and asks me what I do. I said, I'm a cook. He takes the beer, he grabs it, he puts it behind it. He said, I got a bit of a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, my cook left yesterday. He walked out on me, and I've got nobody for lunch. Would you consider doing the lunch service? And I said, well, I just got off a plane. I'm kind of tired. He said, look, if you do me this favor, I'll let you stay here tonight, and tomorrow I'll take you for a tour of the city, and I'll take you around the place. And I thought, why not? And I love the Irish. He actually went outside and he painted a maple leaf on the chalkboard. And he said, today only, guest chef from Canada. There was a lineup all the way around the block of people that wanted to see what a guest chef from Canada could do. So I wound up working there for a couple of years. And that's another thing, is chance. You're international students, take every single chance you have and make chance. Don't decline anything. Try things, yeah? So I wound up traveling around. I wound up doing this for about 18 months, and then I wound up getting a job in Italy. I went to Italy and worked for a while, and then I worked my way throughout throughout Europe, learning the chef trade. Got to the UK, and I couldn't believe how bad the customer service was there, how bad the service was in bars and restaurants and hotels. So I came up with this idea. I'm going to teach the British people how to give North American style customer service. And I approached the Four Seasons Hotel. And I said, you're the best in the world at delivering customer service, but I believe my course is really good. Give me a shot. And I mean free. I wasn't asking them to pay me anything. I said, give me a shot. And they did. And I trained their team in how to deliver what I now call creating legendary customer service. And I trained their team. I said, all I want from you is a letter that says you trained at the Four Seasons and you did an amazing job. I took that letter and I walked around central London and I went into every 4 and 5-star hotel that I could find. And I said, I do the training at the Four Seasons. Why aren't you using us? And I actually signed several clients that day, and grew this into a business. And then people started asking me afterwards, well, you do customer service. What do you do with sales? What do you do with presentation skills? What do you do? And I taught myself on the fly. And I just kept trying to get better and better and better and better. And that's something that students need to recognize, is that don't just finish your MBA and say, I'm done with school. That's when it starts. You know, the Japanese have this saying, it's called Kaizen, continuous improvement. I go on courses to learn how to be a better sales trainer. I go on courses to learn how to be a better presenter, because I want to continuously get better and better. Otherwise, I just stagnate and other people catch me. Yeah. Yes. So that's how I started the business. And I grew it into a big business the first time around. I sold it. I went and did an MBA. I wound up in China. When I was in China, I opened the business again. COVID came along. I came to Vancouver and set up the business again.
Amazing. Your personal drive shows what made you as a person.
If I can do it, anyone can do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to go out and do it. That's the thing. You got to
show yourself.
You start today. It starts now. Execution is so important in business. People don't get that. If you have an idea, do it. You know, you don't need to analyze it. You don't need to spend months and months and months planning it. Just go out and do it. That's where almost all entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs fail. They get caught up in this inertia, this what do we call it, analysis paralysis. They don't execute. You got to execute on the ideas. And the bigger the institution, the bigger the organization, the worse their execution skills are. That's why tech firms run flat structures where things get done quickly. There's not this hierarchy of having to get approvals and sign-offs that take ages. Execution is critical in getting things done.
Well, we could say the story with this podcast. We just had this idea of doing a podcast, and it was like, hey, let's do it.
And here we are.
We are first podcast. I hope I'm doing good. Any suggestions, Andrew, that I do better?
I'm just going to say it's a privilege to be on the first episode. I really appreciate you inviting me and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. And he's giving the energy. I'm getting the energy from him. I'm executing it from him. And Andrew, coming back to the skills in AI and tech, what are the job opportunities you think is going to get diluted as AI progresses? And what are the opportunities you would suggest students to mainly focus on? For example, customer service. If I'm right, as per the data, 350 million jobs have been depleted with AI. But I personally believe when there's something new coming up, there's more opportunities in that room of new innovations, like the internet. More jobs on the internet. Now everything runs with the internet.
Let's look at history, if you will. So we had bank tellers, and then ATMs came along and everyone said that's the end of the bank teller. Well, if you go into a bank now, there's tons of bank tellers. It still exists. You just maybe need to be more personable. Maybe you need to take your game up a little bit. So I think for all the jobs that will be lost, new ones will come along. Now, I probably wouldn't be pushing people to start off in a junior accounting role, because you need to work your way up the chain, but a lot of those roles can be taken away by artificial intelligence. The senior ones, no. But I guess you need to get to that level, so there will still be opportunity. But AI is going to take away from things like, and you just mentioned those repetition, the jobs that you don't necessarily like to do, that don't involve a lot of creativity, they involve a lot of repetition. AI can do those much better than the average human being can do them. But again, the personal touch is lacking. I think you will find that in the era, if you will, or the age of AI, that people will accept AI to a certain extent, and then they'll get sick of AI. They'll say, because it happened when they outsourced call centers, when the ATMs came along, and people were like, I don't want to deal with an ATM. I want to deal with a human being. I don't want to deal, when I'm checking out my books at the library, I want to deal with a person. I want to talk to someone. I want to say, how's your day so far? Nice weather we're having. A recommendation about a book maybe that they've read. Those things will come back. Companies will outsource these things, and then they'll realize we still need human touch, and they'll bring those particular jobs back. So I think, and there'll be new jobs created. So
Interesting.
again, what I'm getting at though is if you can take your human skills up a notch, a few notches, you're always going to be competitive in an environment that a lot of the left brain and the analytical, the logical, the sequential, the repetitive things can be outsourced to artificial intelligence. That human touch cannot be outsourced to AI. So that's your goal. That's what you want to work on as a student. You want to work on that. You want to say, how do I build relationships? How do I build long-term relationships? How do I understand the importance of listening? How do I understand the importance of building long-term, meaningful relationships? Where a lot of students let themselves down, they don't network. You got to network. You got to be talking. Network on LinkedIn in the first instance. So go and meet these people. Send them a note. Send me a note. I want to have a coffee with you. We'll have a coffee. It's not a problem. I get those all the time. And when I have the time, when I'm able to, I meet with people, not just from the school I teach at. I've had a lot of people reach out to me from other schools and say, can you have a coffee? I've got a business idea. And I'm like, of course.
That's how we brought Andrew to the podcast too.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
A small question out of the box, Andrew. AGI, which is coming up. AGI is going to be there in the next 5 years.
Which might be coming up.
Which might be coming up in the next 5 years. And all the big tech giants, companies are working towards it. Even the government, the defense projects are working towards AGI to get better. As we're progressing towards AGI, as a consultant, where you're very well trained in solving big complex problems, I'm pretty sure you've thought about it. What do you think AGI brings in the table of evolution? Because that changes the whole spectrum of AI, what we have as of now.
I mean, I almost say let's get to that when we get to that, because they've been talking about this since the time of, they had in the 50s, it was the 50s, you had the Turing test. Alan Turing, who actually was the person who decoded the Enigma machine in World War II. He came up with this concept of, when you get a computer, the Turing test is when can I talk to a computer where I don't feel like I'm talking to a computer. So I had that recently with a agentic AI where I was having an interview with it. The only way I understood or knew that I was talking to a computer was because of the long pauses in between but the actual conversation itself, I could be talking to you. It was totally switched on. It was an agentic AI interviewing me about some things that I wanted it to do. Mm-hmm. And do I see AGI it will come, but I don't think it's going to come at the speed. There's a lot of argument as to whether it's going to come in the 5 years, 10 years, will it ever come? I think that we need to prepare ourselves for that, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to come at the speed that people feel that it's going to come.
What do you suggest for students who are MBAs and who are opting for MBAs in this current world of AI? What change does AI bring in, and what are the students finding it difficult to put through their skills in AI?
Okay. Well, I think students need to realize that AI is going to beat you at almost anything. Certainly left brain activities, things that are logical, sequential, analytical, it's going to beat you. It's faster. You want to knock up a spreadsheet, it's going to knock up a spreadsheet in 30 seconds. It's going to take you maybe, half a day to do properly. Mm-hmm. So it's going to beat you in those skills. Where it's not going to beat you and where people need to really practice are the human skills, the human skills. So I talk about that in the book, the 6 soft skills that you need to dominate in the age of AI. If you have those human skills, and right brain activities, if you will, if you have those, there's no AI that's going to be able to beat you in that area.
And next question is something about you. 25 years in consulting. So if you want to put the 25 years in consulting in 60 seconds, how do you put this through?
In consulting, I do a lot of training and development. So I've traveled, 22 countries, 4 continents, 80 cities across Asia, training and developing people. So along the way, people have asked me for certain consulting things, but I'd say I'm more of a trainer and a developer of people. Right? So if you're an organization and you're struggling with sales issues, with service issues, these are human skills that can be improved. And when you invest in sales, developing your people, getting their pitch skills right, getting their customer service right, you will see such a massive return on investment. So it's important to invest not only as an individual, but as organizations to invest in your people, not just invest in maybe technology, or because technology it's never going to be able to deliver those soft skills that we were just speaking about.
And what do you say for students, as you train a lot of students or international students who are leaving their country, coming here with big dreams of pursuing the courses which they're pursuing, especially in this time of AI, because there comes this confusion, hey, you know what, AI is taking our jobs. What are the things that you would suggest them to do which can excel them as an excellent candidate?
Okay, I spoke at a conference in Toronto 2 weeks ago. It was a learning and development conference. About 1,000 people there, all learning and development professionals from around Canada and North America, and some from Europe as well. One of the things that people were saying, and I heard multiple times, is that AI is not going to beat you. It's the people that understand how to work with AI that are going to beat you. So, as I mentioned earlier, I think that having those human skills is going to be something that's going to elevate your career, but you still need to learn how to work with artificial intelligence. It's not going away. In fact, it's going to become more and more a part of the workplace. So if you can manage and balance the two skills, so have a high level of knowledge in technology, but also have a high level of knowledge in those human skills that AI can't replicate, then you're fine. And there's going to be a lot of people are panicking, I'm going to lose my job, but there'll be new jobs that will come along that will be able to. So my advice to any MBA graduate would be keep on top of your human skills. Another thing that we haven't mentioned is network like crazy. Networking is so important. Like, have your elevator pitch down, understand, listen to people, ask questions, and remember it's about them, not about you. That's another personable human skill, is that, if you can make it about that person, they're going to remember you as opposed to you going in and you're talking about yourself.
Yes, fantastic. What are the certifications or what are the skill sets that I can add on to my MBA, which my MBA doesn't actually give me, which looks good on my resume, which helps me to get into consulting companies like, say, McKinsey, BCG, Bain?
Again, I would look at experience. I would look at real experience. So I would say, okay, so you're going to walk into, you just mentioned McKinsey, let's say, for example, you're going to walk in there and you can say, I have an MBA from this particular institution. They're going to look at it, they're going to say, great. They're going to say, but what is your experience as well? So gain experience as much as you can, volunteer for things. If you're working and there's companies coming in, a lot of MBA programs actually bring companies in from the outside to work on consulting projects. I know at the university I'm at, they do a lot of bringing in of live real customers, and approach that person, which is a human skill. Approach that person and say, I'm looking for experience. What challenges do you have? How can I help you as an individual? Get real experience. You need real experience. Companies are looking for, and it's such a challenge, because how do you get real experience without experience? How do you get those opportunities without having the experience, when that's the first thing they say is, where's your experience?
Yes.
Volunteer.
Yes.
Volunteer. Join volunteer organizations and approach them saying,
that's the problem most of the students face. They ask for experience, but how come you don't give me a chance? I don't have experience, right? We need chances to have that experience.
While you're doing the MBA, get out there, volunteer for organizations and approach them and say, look, this is what I'm studying in my MBA. How can you utilize me? I want to do stuff. I want to work. I want to learn. I want to volunteer my time. You'll find people that will give you an opportunity.
So what would you suggest students in this age of AI, coming back to soft skills in AI, what is it one habit you would suggest students personally, professionally?
Execution. Do things. Stop talking about things and do things. Want to run a marathon? Start today. Buy a pair of shoes, run tonight. Put it in your calendar. That's the other thing. Organize everything. Everything in my calendar gets done. Everything. So I post everything that needs to be done, down to, we talk about customer service. Well, looking after my best customer, who is my wife. I'll put it in the calendar sometimes. Hey, you forgot, spontaneity. Take your wife out to dinner. Buy some flowers. I put these things in my calendar, and it may sound kind of ridiculous, but everything that's in there gets done. I don't go to sleep until it's done. So you got to execute on things. You want to start a business? What can you do today? So maybe you don't have the funds, but can you do the business plan? Can you meet with other people to talk about it? You want to start a rock band. Okay, go buy a guitar, teach yourself a few chords. If you teach yourself 3 chords a day, in 1 year, you're going to be able to play guitar relatively well. You know what I mean? Just like execute on things, do things. Stop saying, well, I'll do that tomorrow, and do it now. And this is not just for students. This is for, some of the places I work with that are bureaucracies. You have a lot of these people that have these committees, and they just get nothing done. They talk about, we have a problem with this. We need to research it. We need to talk about it. We need to bring these people in. No, get it done. You know what the problem is, fix it. And I find people struggle with execution. They worry about the small details instead of, you can start your business and there can be a lot of mistakes in the early process. And that's great, because like I said before, failure is success because you're learning along the way. So if you're learning all the time, you're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger and not making the same mistakes. In the United States, a lot of banks are more interested in giving money to people who have had a business that's failed than people that haven't done it the first time around. They have a different attitude towards entrepreneurship. You've failed, you've learned from what's gone wrong. Now your next venture is probably going to be more successful. So I know it's a long answer. Execution. Do things. Stop putting everything off. Do it today.
Fantastic. Stop procrastinating. Started now. Started today. So at this point of your life, Andrew, what does success mean to you?
Happiness, health. You don't realize when you're younger, you don't think about like, oh, that's going. Trust me, when you get a little bit older, things start to break on you. Yeah, health, and health is wealth. Loving what I do and every minute of what I do. If I don't enjoy something, I stop doing it, and that's a nice position to be in life. Because there were times earlier in my life when I had to do jobs that I didn't want to do because I needed to feed myself, to pay rent, but now I just do the things that I love, which is, working with students, training and developing people, and trying to continuously improve. I haven't reached the stage where I say, oh, my training courses are perfect the way they are. I'm always looking at new ways to try and improve. I watch other people. So for me, success is having the things that I love. I'm no longer materialistic. I was quite materialistic in my youth, and now there's nothing I really want. I'm just happy to have some free time every now and then, to love my job, to love teaching, and what I really love is when students come back to me. I teach a small business management class. I teach another class called Launch Your Business. When students come back to me and say, oh man, my business is booming. I'm doing really well. This is gold dust for me. This is so much more valuable than any paycheck someone can give me. This is like, I've actually influenced someone to start a business, and now they're going down that path and they're successful, and I love it. There's nothing more meaningful for me in my life. And I look back in my life at the people that helped me. So I mentioned to you living in Ireland. I mentioned living in Italy. Well, I remember in Ireland, someone coming and knocking on my door and say, hey, when I lived in the US, people were friendly and helped me. How can I help you? And that changed my life. I remember another guy who was a business guy who's no longer with us. It's a business guy who was a mentor of mine when I first started my business. His name was Alan Robson. And I remember some of the advice that he gave me. And it was critical to my own success, So I want to give back, and it means a lot to me, but I actually enjoy the process. That to me is success, is loving what you do, enjoying the process. And of course, the dollars follow. And when the dollars follow, that's fabulous too. Yeah.
I love the way you put it through. Thank you so much, Andrew. First podcast that we're doing at New York Tech, and we're happy to invite you. And hopefully in the future, once this goes bigger, come back again when we have 1 million followers.
And I'll say I was number one.
Yeah, he's number one. He started it. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Fantastic.
Thanks for coming, and hope you enjoyed the time here.
I loved it. And thank you to the crew.
That's so proud.